Xoloft, Ibrance, Zocor, Mounjaro. Have you ever wondered how prescription drugs get their names? If so, keep listening. Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff, and this is Plain English on Thursday, August 28th, 2025. Every Plain English episode has a story about something going on in the world or something that catches my interest. And you might not have noticed this, but we tell the stories in a very special way. We tell them just for you as English learners. Now, it doesn't mean that we simplify things, not at all. But the stories are made in a way that will teach you words and ideas in English, and you might not even realize that you're learning, but you are. Now, today we're going to dig deep into the archives of Plain English to find a story we originally published in March 2023, a little over 2 years ago. The big blockbuster weight loss drugs had just come out, and one of them is called Mounjaro. And it got me thinking, how do drug companies come up with the names of these drugs? The result was episode number 557, and here it is. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. Let's start with this. What is a pharmaceutical drug? It's a medicine to prevent, treat, or diagnose a disease or medical condition. Typically, we think of pharmaceuticals as prescription pills, but drugs can also be injected or taken in other forms. But regardless of the form, they are recipes of chemical compounds. The process of developing a drug is laborious. It can take 10 years and over $1 billion of investment to bring the average drug to market. And long before you or I ever take a pill, scientists in laboratories have tested combination after combination of chemicals to see what might work. This is a very organized process. And every time a combination is tried, it gets an internal name, usually just a combination of letters and numbers. The vast majority of these chemical compounds, that's what the combinations are called. The vast majority of these compounds will never have another name because they never get farther than a lab experiment. But as soon as a compound starts to show some promise, the company starts to develop two names, the generic name and the brand name. The generic name is a name of the compound. It's the name of the recipe. This is the name that scientists will use in research papers and at conferences. The generic name is not owned by any company. It's a worldwide name to describe the discovery, the ingredients, and how they're put together. The generic name will live forever, and the generic name is the same everywhere around the world. At the same time, the company that discovers a new drug must also develop a brand name. The brand name is the name of the company's product. It's the name you see on commercials. It's the name on the label of the bottle at the pharmacy. So let's take a simple example. Tylenol is a brand name. It's the name of the pill that you swallow. The company that makes Tylenol is Johnson & Johnson. No other company can make a pill called Tylenol. That is the brand name. The generic name for the chemical compound in the pill is acetaminophen. That's the name of the recipe. And plenty of other companies can make acetaminophen and use their own brand names if they want. I grew up taking Tylenol for pain in the United States. I can go downstairs to the pharmacy across the street from my apartment in Mexico and look for acetaminophen, and I'll know I'm taking basically the same thing. All right, so way back when a drug is first being developed, the pharmaceutical company that makes the discovery gets to create both names, the generic name or the scientific name and the brand name. The generic name is formulaic. The suffix, the second part of the word, explains how the drug works. So similar drugs that work in the same way, will all end similarly. For example, here are some generic names for drugs that lower cholesterol. Fluvastatin, lovastatin, pravastatin, notice a pattern, rosuvastatin, simvastatin. They all end in the word statin, which describes how they work. The company gets to pick the first part of the drug's generic name. Now, they almost always use two syllables, pravastatin, lovastatin, so two syllables. Now, this name can't mean anything. It has to be a made-up word, and it can't be considered marketing or promotional in any way. A company will develop a few generic names for the drug and submit it to a national naming agency. In the US, it's the United States Adopted Names Council. The national agency will approve one name and then submit it to the World Health Organization for global approval. And if it gets WHO approval, then the generic drug is officially named for worldwide use. How about the brand name? Well, here, companies have much more flexibility. This is the name of their product. Nobody else will ever use it. So they can get creative, and since it's a brand name, it can be promotional. So drug companies try to make names that evoke emotions that they want associated with the drug. So if you suffer from allergies, you might take Claritin. That drug will help clear your system so you can breathe clearly. The commercials show a foggy view of the world, followed by a clear view of the world, and that's Claritin. It sounds like clarity. That's what they want you to be thinking when you choose an allergy medication. Clarity, Claritin. So drug companies work with creative agencies and copywriters to create the name. They write a creative brief. What are the emotions they want people to feel when thinking about the drug? And then the creative team will look for all the words that evoke that emotion. They'll read literature, watch movies, do interviews, scour the dictionary, search the thesaurus, anything to get inspiration. And then they come up with a list of a few hundred names. And then the process of narrowing down the list starts. So first, a name has to be easy to say. Is it easy to say in English? Is it easy to say in the other places where it will be sold? Second, are there problems with translation? You don't want a drug name to cause confusion or embarrassment if it translates into some other word in a different language. Is it possible that the name is too close to the name of another drug? If so, take it off. If a doctor writes the name with messy handwriting, could that be confused with another drug? If so, take it off or change the spelling. Sometimes drugs include a strange letter, like it might end in a Q or have a strange combination of letters, like Xeljanz. That's spelled Xeljanz, Xeljanz. That's not the most logical way to spell it, but that's the point. When written, it won't be confused with anything else. Now, when a company has a preferred name, it submits it to a regulator for approval. The US and Europe have agencies that must approve prescription drug names on safety grounds. Overall, the process takes years, but it's worth it. A typical branded drug makes over $18 billion in sales over its lifetime, so it needs to have a good name. Now that's more than you ever wanted to know about drug names. Now I realized shortly after I published that episode that I actually picked a bad example. The brand called Tylenol in the United States The name of the compound is acetaminophen. And I said that I could look for that name anywhere and know that I'm basically getting Tylenol. Well, that's actually not right, as I soon discovered. I moved out of the US, and here in Mexico, where I live now, and actually around the world, that same compound is called paracetamol. So when I found this out, I thought about all of you who listened to episode 557, and I thought, I gave the wrong information. What's going on here? And I felt terrible. Well, it turns out this was just a bad example. Some older drugs were given different names in the US and Canada from the rest of the world. But today, the chemical compounds of new drugs, the generic drug names, they're harmonized, so they're the same everywhere. It's just that some of the early drugs still have different names in the US and Canada. So if you're from Europe or Asia or Latin America and you've wondered why you can't find paracetamol in the United States, that's why it just has a different name. Well, now I have a clear conscience. I have corrected the record. This was episode number 557, and the transcript of the full story is at plainenglish.com/557. Monday is the 1st of September, and we'll be back here with a brand new story then. I can't wait. See you on Monday. Listen up if you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word, and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.